How you doing? Can I get a spicy chicken sandwich, please?
You want for a drink with that?
Nothing.
I'm the next one in line.
1173.
And they're fighting in the park.
Oh no.
One spicy salad dog.
Don't touch my sandwich.
So, what you just heard is an excerpt from a field recording I took from the Popeyes location we visited to obtain our spicy chicken sandwich combos. Shortly after I ordered, you can hear an employee working the drive-thru mention that people are fighting in the parking lot. You can actually hear someone say, "Oh no," in response, and another customer say, "Don't touch my sandwich." In the end, we got our chicken sandwiches, and what follows is a review of the sandwiches themselves as well as a debriefing of the entire experience we witnessed. Welcome to the first official episode of HumanErrorCast. This is your operator, FOGMACHINES, speaking. Thanks for listening, and enjoy your stay.
Yeah. FOGMACHINES on the ones and twos.
Welcome to the first episode of HumanErrorCast. Today we have myself, FOGMACHINES, Mr. YABBIT, and BGE with us. Parts of the crew, not the whole crew, but who we could find available. So it seems like I'm talking really quietly. Do you think I need to amp the volume?
Yeah, I would say bump it, because look where my voice is at when we talk.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also, I'm in the same room, too, so it's kind of hard to tell. But,
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, I mean, I think that it's as close as we're going to get it. It looks fine to me, and I can adjust it as necessary. But, yeah, we're going to keep on moving, because today we saw some shit.
Yes, we sure did.
Yeah.
So, for this first segment, we're going to be talking about the cultural phenomenon known as the Popeyes Spicy Chicken Sandwich Combo. It's all the rave right now. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say outright about this whole thing?
Well, I guess at first I wasn't sure if this was something that was only taking place online, because I saw a lot of things on all the usual suspect sites, all the social media stuff like that about this chicken sandwich. But then it turns out that we show up at a Popeyes, and not necessarily in a dense metropolitan area or anything like that either. We're out here in the suburbs. There was a line. It was pretty wild.
Oh yeah, lines out the parking lot. We drove and ended up getting stuck in the parking lot immediately, as the folks in the drive-thru didn't want to give up their spot, and neither did the person trying to get through that line. So we were basically in the intersection. But
I just want to take it a step before that even.
Sure.
What gets people like us to show up at a Popeyes, people who don't really necessarily frequent Popeyes very often, it's things like this. And I just have to acknowledge the big stir that was created for this all to be possible. I mean, the people made us go. It was Instagram, it was social media, it was the outcry from the general public. And I couldn't think of a better marketing method than what Popeyes managed to pull off. And it suckered all of us into it, and whatever it was, whether it was good or it was bad, it was at least an experiment of just humanity.
For sure.
And just how wild we can be over just food of all things. It's a chicken sandwich.
Come on, people.
How about we just take a listen to our live review of us going to Popeyes, getting the sandwiches, eating the sandwiches, etc.
So now we'll switch gears and get into the review of the spicy chicken sandwich itself. This was recorded on my phone, and because we were hungry and couldn't be bothered setting up the recording equipment, I have to apologize for the poor audio quality. At the end of the review, we provide an out of 10 rating based on our tasting experience. Let's listen now. So here we we are, BGE, Mr. YABBIT and I, revealing our sandwiches for our hungry stomachs. Oh yeah, about to smash these if there's no tomorrow. Alright, so a pretty standard looking chicken sandwich. Not really doused in sauce or anything. Bottom bone's pretty soggy looking. It's good, maybe also it's been sitting in the flour.
Yes.
Pretty standard.
Ooh, it looks good. You guys hear that? That's the ketchup sound.
Nah, she's just making up for.
Alright. So like I said, we got Mr. YABBIT, BGE, and myself, FOGMACHINES, about to take part in the cultural phenomenon that is the Popeye's spicy chicken sandwich, which you can get right now, August 24th, this year of our Lord, 2019, for $4.
I would say right now, that fog machine sandwich looks better than mine does.
Interesting.
I agree.
Why do you guys say that?
Because yours looks bigger.
There's just a chunk there that's just like coming off.
So the piece of chicken
Yeah.
itself?
Mm-hmm.
So that's an interesting take, because that means that there's an inconsistency across the board, huh? Some people out there are getting
What's going
bigger.
on?
I opened my, this is
Whoa.
BGE right here. I opened my sandwich up. This is like one chicken tender. It's got like a single chicken tender on my...
We're gonna take some comparison photos here.
This is
in a
not-
second.
Yeah. I don't know how.
I've heard the big deal is there's also a pickle. Let's see. Nope, no pickle on the
Yeah,
spicy.
I have not received a pickle.
Maybe pickle's only on the classic.
You guys like pickles? I have some in the fridge.
I'm gonna eat it as it's
As
supposed
it
to be.
is.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, looks like a pretty normal. Mine looks like a pretty normal piece of boneless chicken, breast or something. They got that Popeye's crunch.
Yeah.
Are we ready to?
I'm ready.
in our
Dig
mouths?
into this thing?
Yeah, I am.
All right, here we go. Packs the crunch.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely packs the crunch.
First impression. Not that spicy.
Agreed.
Not that flavorful.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not really getting a lot of flavor out of this. I'd like more. I'm about to put ketchup on it. Oh yeah. That's going on my
Great
fries,
audio
but-
right there. All right, I'm gonna go for bite number 2.
I mean, you know, it does the fast food thing where it's like satiating my hunger. But yeah, I agree with BG here. It's not. I'm glad it's not salty, but at the same time, I'm not getting like a lot of spice like I even get from like a normal Popeyes meal.
That's
Not that I
true.
eat Popeyes a lot. It's just
It is definitely Popeye's chicken, though. Like it has its signature flavor, but the flavor is not enough for me to have been like, holy shit, like Popeye's chicken sandwich. At least so far.
for sure. I mean, I'm probably wondering.
It might get better as I progress.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting some more of the sauce as I get further in the sandwich, and you know, it's not bad, but it also tastes like. I'm wondering how much of it was rushed.
Right.
You know? Like how much of this is just like the pickles are missing, like because everybody is trying to get this. Like,
Yeah, this Popeyes was packed out.
This makes me wonder if like there's a Popeye somewhere where this isn't happening too, that they're making like fucking bomb ass gourmet sandwiches.
Yeah, the best version of what this could be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm feeling a little bit more spice. Feeling the spice a little bit.
I think it's true. Maybe the first bite's not the one that is the one to judge it off of, but yeah, if you get a little bit further in, you get more sauce.
All right.
Beer was a good call.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Popeyes should consider selling beer.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if they do in other states.
Probably some. I know that they have those those Taco Bell cantinas where they sell liquor,
Yeah.
which is wild, like actually liquor. I'm going to say that the sandwich, maybe, you know, from my first critique or whatever, it's still good. It's still good, but, you know, this is a very hyped up item right now. So I'm trying to see if it lives up to it. That's all.
Well, in fairness, some of the hype, I think, was because of its comparison to the Chick-fil-A sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
I have had that sandwich before, but I can't say that I know enough about its everything to really make a great comparison to that. But I would say that this, I mean, from 1 to 10, what would you rate this sandwich experience? Well, the experience is different. What would you rate the sandwich?
Yeah. And the sandwich itself is getting like a 3 from me.
Out of 10.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of it is context and hype. And it's just a piece of, you know, breast meat, boneless breast meat. Like, you know, the chicken itself is good, but the sauce is like kind of not there and soaked into the bun, and there's no pickles, and, you know, the bun is good, but presentation is part of it. And yeah, I just think could use more flavor. And as far as like chicken sandwiches that I've had go, like, this is not the best chicken sandwich I've had. Definitely, you know, good fast food, but it's not like, I don't know if I would have ordered this if it wasn't for the hype.
BGE.
I'm going to echo Fog Machines here and probably give it around a 3 or 4. Somewhere, you know, definitely not even a 50% on this one. And that's because, you know, something that I think I brought up to Mr. YABBIT earlier is that I think in this conversation, you know, Chick-fil-A versus Popeyes, the sandwich that's really not getting enough love is Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich, which in my opinion is a culinary masterpiece. I would eat that all day. If I could eat it and not like destroy my heart, I would eat it, you know, every day. That sandwich gets like, you know, like an 8 or a 9, because I do believe that there's possibility for a sandwich to be better than that. And just comparing this sandwich to the Wendy's spicy chicken is, I'm gonna say that it is very subpar compared to that.
So real quick, can you give some context for us, those of us who have never had a Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich? What's it like compared to this guy?
Well, the thing about the Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich is that the actual fillet is where the spice is, it's not the sauce. The sauce on it's actually mayonnaise. It's lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, a spicy chicken breast, but it's like kind of like a reddish color because they put the spices and the heat in the batter itself. On a buttery bun like this, but it's got like a little smear of mayo on it.
All right.
I think it's a very good spicy chicken sandwich. This, on the other hand, is, you know, failing to measure up.
Mr. YABBIT, what's your take? Your scoring?
I'm gonna just continue on a point that both of you have made, that presentation is everything. And upon unwrapping this from what was, you know, such a promising package of delight and joy, here I get this thing between two buns that doesn't really make me as excited as a lot of chicken sandwiches. BGE brings up Wendy's. I could even bring up several sandwiches on McDonald's menu that have looked better aesthetically. Taste-wise, it's not a bad sandwich. I don't think I'm running to Popeyes to get a spicy chicken sandwich going forward. Spicy chicken sandwich going forward. But I really think that, and this is really mainly based on the experience that I had doing all of this, which I believe we'll document for all of you listeners. I have to give it a strong 3 to a light 4.
Okay.
A light 4.
Yeah, looks like we're at an average of around 3.5 for this sandwich out of 3 judges. So take that for what you will, podcast world.
It was fun. We had a fun time getting it.
The experience and everything.
And now I'm not hungry anymore, but that's about it. And the most I can almost say about the sandwich.
Yeah.
So that concludes our review. Feel free to let us know what you thought about Popeye's Spicy Chicken Sandwich and your experience purchasing it in the comments below. Let's jump back into the discussion.
Yeah, but I don't know though. I'm gonna say that I don't get excited by much these days, but food, well, I'll get pumped for food. You know.
Yeah, I mean, good food I will get pumped for, and I'll also, throw some money at it if I need to. But for me, I'd like to talk about more like what, kind of along the lines of what Mr. YABBIT was just talking about, like what exactly caused this to be so hyped. And to me, at least as I'm learning about it more in the media and social media platforms, etc., it was not just the spicy chicken sandwich itself, but it being pitted against another company's chicken sandwich, and that having that kind of versus antagonism being the hype.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's funny because like obviously all these big fast food chains are like in competition with one another, and they all have products that rival one another. Like you got the Whopper versus the Big Mac, but how often are they like that outright stated? This chicken sandwich is meant to take out this other chicken sandwich, the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich. Like that's the goal of this chicken sandwich. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's something that fast food companies have been doing for years, but it's interesting to me that this in particular caught so much attention. I mean, I feel like it's always been a debate between, Burger King and McDonald's, and, which is better, the Whopper or the Big Mac or what have you, but I feel like maybe because of where we are in the 21st century with social media, that maybe that's a big reason that this took off. I mean, I guess what I'm thinking about is the earlier this year, last year, I'm not sure, 2018 maybe, but
nobody even knows anymore.
Yeah, where are we? But I remember essentially Burger King, I believe, was trolling McDonald's by creating a Whopper deal where I don't remember if it was a free Whopper that you'd get or extremely discounted Whopper that you'd get if you went to a McDonald's and tweeted about that deal from the McDonald's, essentially, just like trolling them. BG, would you want to look into that real quick? Because I don't remember all the details, but I remember that being a thing for a minute, and I don't know how much it generated interest or hype of this kind of nature, kind of like mania. I don't know how else to describe it, because what we saw out there was definitely, reminiscent of, I think what we were talking about when we were in the lines and leaving the restaurant, some of the hype generated by, certain technological devices during their release in the 90s and the early 2000s when you're waiting for your Tamagotchi and all night long, and somebody, your mom gets into a fight with somebody else's mom about the last box, and everybody loses their friggin' minds.
Yeah. It leaves you to wonder exactly the way we just prioritize things in life, and why, how much we even like things versus how much we want to show other people that, hey, we've done it too, or like, I don't know, we're a part of the trend. It's like, it's kind of a weird thing, and it's also kind of weird when you feel like you've been moved by other forces to do these kind of things. It's not even like, it's like you want to be in the end, so you do it. Yeah. It's not like anything that's you actually really want for yourself. I'm sure there's been a lot of people over the past couple of days since this has happened that have showed up at Popeyes with no real interest other than just to be a part of the people who can say that they've eaten the sandwich. And I just find that amazing that people can be swayed like that. It's amazing.
The magic of marketing, everybody. Propaganda.
Yeah. I think we were all saying before we went that none of us would have gone to Popeyes today if it weren't for this phenomenon. But I did find an article, Business Insider, as to what Fog Machines was talking about. So you could get a Whopper for $0.01. This was in late 2018. If customers go within 600 feet of a McDonald's location, they can order a Whopper for $0.01 via the revamped Burger King app. So they were like kind of using this as an advertisement for their app, but at the same time, yeah, like definitely pretty funny marketing for this app. It's definitely whoever came up with this plan is a little mischievous for sure. So I like that. I mean, as much as I can get behind the marketing for a fast food restaurant.
Absolutely. I mean, that's kind of what I mean. These days are strange for marketing because I'm seeing a bunch of different varieties of that. I think our more recent one was essentially Microsoft advertising their new notebook PCs by they literally found a man named MacBook to shit talk MacBooks. They literally they scoured the earth for this guy named Macintosh Book, or Mackenzie or something. I don't remember now.
His name was Macintosh. That'd be pretty awesome.
And asked him a series of questions and made an ad out of it. Comparing their notebook to a MacBook and what he thought, and well, every single time the MacBook failed his standards, and that as the whole ploy. My name's MacBook, and I don't like MacBooks. And I think that it's an interesting thing to see in this day when information can be kind of disseminated in a way that's like so much faster and so much more ubiquitous. To have a kind of joke like that, kind of pitting companies against each other, and having it like have real impactful consequences, Yeah,
I'm going more into this Business Insider article, and it seems that maybe a lot of these marketing schemes, including the one that you just described, they take a lot of humor from the internet. It's very like, and you used the word that Burger King is trolling,
Absolutely.
internet trolling,
Yeah.
McDonald's. And I'm just even going back, like looking here, it says that Burger King has been dabbling in some unusual promotions recently, such as launching a flame-grilled dog treat called the Dog Purr, which definitely to me is more for the laughs than it is for your dog doesn't care about what it's eating, And then last week, the chain posted a string of nonsensical tweets that seemed to be simply a random string of letters and numbers. Later, Burger King said the gibberish tweets had been an effort to promote the return of its mini cinnamon rolls. Once again, just showing, right, that they're like kind of like delving into this world of, or diving into this world of like absurdist humor that like lives on the internet, like that it's all jokes that, people who spend too much time online think are funny.
Well, I mean, in a lot of ways, this whole Popeyes chicken sandwich was absurd. Like just the way it played out, it unfolded in Instagram and on social media, and the craze behind it. And the craze behind it was just almost to a point. Well, obviously you can see a lot of stuff on social media where it's where you see rap songs or other things like. It got bigger than what it even was, and I think that it comes from there. Like the people who are the media people and the people who control that see that there's people talking about it, they drag all that and say, okay, I guess we really need to take this seriously and report it as if it's real news because. According to sources that I'm looking up right now, like it's extremely official, like Washington Post front page official. So
it's interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I personally haven't seen a lot of like super like mainstream media sources reporting on this. Like this is one of those things that I have been only like coming across in hearsay. Somebody I work with the other day was like raving about it, and that's how I found out like. That this was even a thing in the world, and I feel like that's true, but also I see what you're saying, because I see that kind of reaction in the mainstream media happening with a lot of other things, like, a lot more serious and darker events, terrorist attacks, etc., blah, blah, blah. But a lot of things I notice have been going viral first, on the internet between normal fucking people, just like seeing this stuff firsthand. And it used to be the MSM that was giving this to you, and that's how you'd hear about it. Now it's so-and-so on the street saw this thing happen, and the MSM is actually the ones reacting. So the tables have weirdly turned in a way where, like, I'm seeing a lot of mainstream media outlets kind of just only starting to figure out how to handle this information.
Yeah, like things that happen online first is what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, essentially.
Right. Yeah,
it happens in the real world, but instead of pundit like the news telling you that this thing happened, you hear about it from your friends first, basically.
Right.
And from there, the news sorts it out, so to speak.
Has to report on it, because it's, like you said, like we've been talking about cultural phenomenon. That reminds me of that thing Momo. Do you remember Momo? It was a thing that was going around online where parents were worried that there was this thing that was invading YouTube videos that was telling kids to harm themselves or harm their friends, or I don't even remember exactly what it was. And it turned out to mostly be a hoax from what I understand. But the news, all these news outlets, I saw like a compilation recently where they all were reporting on it as if it were real. And it's just because there's like this almost this misinformation between the what's actually going on and in this virality kind of aspect, and then the news has to report on it, but they don't even really fully understand it. Maybe in the same way they don't understand the chicken sandwich,
I agree, and I think it's fascinating to me because it speaks of a lot, like, different time periods to me. It's like this old-fashioned way of looking at this new thing that's happening, and it reminds me of like my parents or something, like hearing it. Have you heard of this thing?
Right.
And, that's like the voice I hear whenever I read the Washington Post or something. Like, it's like, yes, I've heard of this thing.
Right.
It's been a thing for a minute, but good on you for coming under that rock.
But then the funnier part about it is, like, okay, then once they've heard about this thing, now it's like, again, looking at these websites, these media outlets, then it's like them officially trying the sandwich for themselves, being like, okay, well, here we go, doing our it's just kind of funny that how late they catch on to it, and how silly it becomes for them that they have to report about it like a very serious reporter type.
Right.
Like it's like
like
somebody
a trade
died.
deal with China or whatever.
Yeah, or something. Yeah.
It goes in it's in the same, paper of repute, as they say, right? As something like that.
But it's all more money in Popeye's pockets. So
oh, absolutely. And Chick-fil-A for that matter,
Hey, yeah.
Everybody's getting recognition for something, and everybody's going to have their preferences. So.
That's kind of almost what I was getting at before, where I feel like, besides that, McDonald's, Burger King thing that we were talking about, I feel like a lot of times people don't want to name their competitors because it gives them kind of like a free publicity thing too.
Right.
So this was kind of funny that this was like kind of, or, it grew into this thing, Popeyes or Chick-fil-A, like kind of.
Yeah. I think that what's also interesting to me is that maybe some younger folks who are coming of age, professionally speaking, are now reporters and are kind of engaging with the news in the same way that they engage with Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. And I think that because that guard is changing, like, you still have a lot of older people reporting the news and, figuring out the different platforms, etc., as they go and doing more or less a good job. But I think that there's also a lot of younger people who are kind of revamping the way that news is displayed or presented at all in the first place. And I think I'm starting to see more undercurrents of that in contemporary media. It's not perfect, but it is a lot more slick, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that you're totally right about that. It's kind of this new versus old media battle, and it a lot of people also, think this ties into the fact that there's no print, or there's, print is dying. There's print newspaper. It's like, people are mourning the losses of those classic papers, or the papers are getting chopped, like losing sections. I remember the first time that the local paper got cut in half in size, and maybe a lot of older people who, for them, that was such a comfort, relying on media in that way.
Yeah.
Or it was part of their daily routine, getting into paper and stuff like that. And now, everything happens so quickly. The information's readily available, and maybe that's also part of it, is that you have these young people who are moving into new, doing this new journalism thing. And then everybody feels like they have to talk about everything, because if not, they're not relevant, right? So, people are talking about the Popeyes chicken sandwich in the same breath that they're talking about, Trump, doing this, tariffs in China or whatever, because they think, well, if we don't talk about this, then people are going to go to the other, media source to get their, because we're not relevant. We're not staying on top of things.
Right. I mean, in a similar fashion, it's interesting to me that the quality of news in that way has suffered, I think, because not only are news outlets, I think, losing money and being forced to find new ways to make money, like advertising and clickbait and all these, subscriptions and paywalls and everything, but because I think a younger generation is starting to come through, and let's just throw in the miserable state of education, for example. You got journalists who are not learning journalism the same way anymore, in the same ways that it used to be relevant. And I've seen at least the quality of like basic stuff like grammar suffer, and more typos, and people relying on autocorrect for their headlines and stuff. And it's like, what happened to proofreaders? What happened to editors? What happened to all this stuff that, really made journalism a respectable profession in the first place? And that part of it's fascinating to me.
It's also fascinating the more and more that alternative forms of media take over, the more and more that they are taking over, the more and more we get a lot of news that is cool today, but just gone tomorrow. There's nothing. It's just kind of trash in some kind of way. It's like junk food, we find it important because it's the hot topic, but really in the long run, it's not really that important. And the problem is, then we don't really know how to discern between things that are really a big deal and things that aren't so important at all, because it's all blended together, especially when you get it off of social media.
Oh yeah, and I find my eyes glazing over all the time, and I wonder how much of also that has to do with algorithms, being a part of this, and how that affects things like plagiarism. Like when I'm looking at Google headlines and I see the same fucking article like 8 different times from 8 different news outlets, and they're all quoting the Associated Press. It's like they're all just paragraphs verbatim, just copy and pasted. It's like, what is your actual job? What do what do you actually do when you go to work and you don't have to report anything? You just copy and paste. Like how does that change our kind of like public sphere perception about what's going on in the world, other than remind me that like 6 major companies own every media outlet in the world?
Right.
Or less.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how talking about the spicy chicken sandwich got us to this point, but I do think it is very much it all ties back to it. It's all about how quickly information gets transferred, how people are reacting to information. And I don't think it necessarily, this just happened to be the thing that we that led us to this point, but it could be any number of things. I think that like Mr. YABBIT was saying, like, news stories come and go so quickly. For whatever reason, I was thinking about Rachel Dolezal, remember when that was everybody was talking. That was and obviously on a completely other level, but there was a certain virality to it, and everybody had an opinion, and was outraged or, felt something. And then, yeah, like you said, things come and go so quickly in the news that, like, I don't even know what became of her.
She's still there. She's still around. She's still holding her same place.
I didn't think she died, but
No, but I mean, the issue is still there. She's still holding the same positions.
Oh, wow.
From what I understand.
Yeah,
Might have to do a fact check there, but
that's what I've understood from that situation. Just like, it's, she had her 15 minutes or whatever, and it's either good or bad, but that's what happens, I think, and the memory hole is also very real.
Yeah, and that was just the first example I thought of.
For sure.
But and this, I'm not likening Rachel Dolezal to a chicken sandwich, but also
why not?
What's going to happen? Like you said, everybody has their 15 minutes. I think that we already had the sandwiches and we did a live review. I'm curious because I wonder what's going to happen to this chicken sandwich once that all dies down.
Absolutely, and I would invite everybody listening to just let us know what you think, because I think we're in weird uncharted territory here where, like, we don't really know how this thing goes, but I think we and other major corporations would love to know how to fly this thing. So
Thanks again for listening, and tune in next time to Human Error.